Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Donna Jackson. She is amazing. And I have a question for you, Donna. What do you think about J.D. Vance, someone who also once worked for the same law firm as Michelle Obama and Barack Obama once worked for too? What do you think of J.D. Vance as vice president pick? It's clear that he's not everyone's cup of tea, but is he yours?
He absolutely is. And I'm going to tell you why. He has the experience of the vast majority of Americans. He came from a household where his mother was on drugs. He came from a household where they didn't have much money. He was poor. I've always said it's not in this country, it's not about race. It's about socioeconomics. And he had the experience of the a large portion of African Americans, not because they're Black, because they're in poverty. And he can speak, irrespective of color, to the ills and the hardships of bringing yourself up from the bottom rungs to a place of success. I've been around African Americans, poor African Americans. I've been around affluent African Americans. I've also been around poor whites, affluent white Americans. And let me tell you something. Poor whites and poor Blacks have the same situation, and he can speak to that. There is no way that you can sit down there and look at what this man has overcome and say that somehow he was at an advantage. I can tell you this, for a lot of affluent elite liberals, white liberals, they despise poor white people. And in fact, they would give me an opportunity before they would give a poor white person an opportunity, which means there is no white privilege. White privilege doesn't exist. And what he brings to the table is no one can take away the fact that the hardships he had to go through to become successful is not something that any person in the American experience can relate to. So on that regards, I think he's a great choice because we should be talking about the socioeconomic status of people and not the race of people, because irrespective of your color, the scenario and the situation is the same. And he's one of the people that can unite every poor race on that scenario of the American dream.
I mean, he's for a lot of people, they're going to have issue mainly with his close ties to Peter Thiel, I think, which will cause most of the issue, and the fact that he's been so aligned with Silicon Valley. But I do agree completely. I mean, I came from a family when we were younger, my mum and dad couldn't eat on a Thursday. Every Thursday they had to not have food so that the children could be fed and clothed. And where by the time I got older, I was told I was privileged just because of the color of my skin. And that was devastating. So I agree with what you said there completely. But if anything does happen to Trump, Vance will be the man who takes the throne. And will his lack, if that does happen, I mean, we have just seen an assassination attempt. If that does happen, will his lack of political experience and his close ties with Peter Thiel cause issue, do you think?
He is the man that's going to listen to the people. And I think that's something that we've lost in this country. I mean, we've come to think that somehow these political individuals that we elect are some kind of royalty. No, they're doing the will of the people. And he's one of those people that will listen because he has a shared experience with the people who are struggling the most. The other thing is this. What we have jobs, we have careers, we do our job. Look, I was an accountant at one time. I worked on large accounting with large corporations. I mean, the fact that you have a tie to someone in an area does not mean that you are somehow bought and sold. Because at the end of the day, your life experience shapes you. And the fact that somebody happens to see something in you, irregardless if they have money or don't, doesn't negate that. He will always depend and fall back on what made him who he is. And a large part of it It's the experience that he had growing up. That's the experience that matters. And the fact that this person happens to be in Silicon Valley, well, kudos to somebody in Silicon Valley that sees beyond the liberal elites, narrative and decides to invest in someone who goes against that grain. I mean, so that's kudos to him. But at the end of the day, I trust the fact that this is a man who can speak to the everyman. And it's about time that we come back to that place where we have someone whose ears is closest to the people and not the 1% and not the 29% of college educated people. I love college educated people. I'm college educated, but I am always in the communities listening to the struggles of every man. And I think that he brings that to the table.
Yeah, good answer. Well, Biden, of course, today we see in the news, at least over in the British news, we hear the same thing. Biden is trying to avoid the inevitable, it seems, while his health deteriorates. Do you think that he should step aside? And who do you think should take his place as Democrat nominee if he does?
Well, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter who they put in. Their policies are going to be the same. It is more likely than not that he will step aside. There's been some talk of that. But you know what? You have everybody lined up behind him is worse than he is. I'm sorry, Kamala Harris, who ran as an Indian American. Let's remember that. She did not identify as an African American for the entire time that she was in California politics. She got her reputation by putting Black mothers in prison because their kids were truant. She got her reputation by putting Black and brown people for minor offenses in jail and giving them longer sentences than they deserve. And then she's for prostitution, legal prostitution. She's for grooming our kids, and then don't talk about Gavin Newsom. I mean, this is a man who has destroyed the best state in the country. So we don't want a California America. So to be honest with you, no matter who they put up is going to be worse than the person that they have right now.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you're right there. I do believe that you're right. Donna Jackson, I tell you what, you can come back on the show anytime. Completely and utterly welcome. Thank you for coming on the Johnny Vedmore Show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Invite me back anytime.
I will. I'm in love. I'm willing to say it out loud. Now, for everybody else, you're listening to today's News Talk TNT.